Your Megillah? Okay.
There's many Megillahs, but there's a article over here. Okay, we're in Lamed Amud Aleph 30a, and we don't have a lot left to the Mesechta, but my goal, at least, and Rebbe's goal is to finish this Mesechta before, or at least during the 9 days, so we can make a siyum, all of us, on it during the 9 days coming up. And we have every one of us who makes a siyum is already during 9 days. You have to add on in simcha in a happy, good manner. So with Lamed Amud Aleph 30a near the top of the page, we have Daf Lamed Aleph, Daf 30, Daf 31, and then Lamed Beis Amud Aleph 32a. From here on till the end of the Mesechta, essentially, most of the time we're going to be discussing different Torah readings. This Torah reading, that Torah reading, which time, that time. Right now we're discussing the Torah readings of the 4 Parshas. What are the 4 Parshas, as you remember? First one is Parshas Shekalim. Shekalim is to give a machzas shekel, half of a gold coin, half of a silver coin to the Beis HaMikdash, as such. Second one is Parshas Zachor, the Parsha to remind ourselves of the war with Amalek. We read that always a week before Purim. That will be the discussion of our coming Gemara. Which week do we read Parshas Zachor? We'll have the 2 opinions. Then the third one is Parshas Para. Para is to purify yourselves from tumas mes, impurity of a dead body. To remind everyone, get yourself pure to bring the korban Pesach, the Pesach sacrifice. And it's a week-long process. And the fourth one is Parshas HaChodesh. We always read it on or the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, telling us the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh, which was given to us on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and the mitzvahs and halachas of korban Pesach, of the Pesach sacrifice. If you have a art scroll, you're on 30A1. Baliyas. B'toich Shabbos. We've discussed so far 2 scenarios. I'm going to bring it up on the calendar over here. And it happens occasionally. If Parshas Shekalim, which is the first aliyah, or beginning the first aliyah of Kisisa, if it comes out to be on Parshas Tetzaveh or Parshas Vayakel, and we had 2 opinions, how exactly you should read it. Because people will say, hey, you're repeating the same Parsha 2 weeks in a row. Or if it's Parshas Tetzaveh, you're continuing reading Parshas Kisisa. And we had 2 opinions what you should do. What we do is we take out a second Sefer Torah regardless. What happens if on Parshas Kisisa itself, it's Parshas Shekalim? What exactly do you do? Because what's the reason to read Parshas Shekalim? Everybody should know, should pay attention. Everyone should give the machzas shekel, give a half a coin. And the most important ones, who needed to get the message, were the shulchanim. What's a shulchani?
Money trader.
Right, the money trader. Because everyone had to give a half a shekel coin. You couldn't just, tap your credit card or debit card. You had to actually give physical coins. And therefore, the money changers were having suddenly millions of people coming to give their half shekel coins. So they had to have change for everyone. And therefore, it took them time, at least 2 weeks. But they gave them 2 weeks to get ready to set up their whole setup of having enough coins, enough change, enough everything for every single person. So therefore, you need at least 2 weeks from when you read Parshas Shekalim until when they start to collect Shekalim. And as we learned, we brought up the Brisa before, that there would be, from the day after Purim, the money changers will be sitting by their tables to collect the half shekel coins. It'll be about 10 days worth, and then they'll start sending it all to Yerushalayim. And within the last 5 days, they had to already get everything in order and start using the new shekels by Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So you need 2 weeks before. Now, if the purpose is to announce Parshas Shekalim, everyone should know, get your half shekel coins ready. Therefore, if you read it on the week of Kisisa, is nothing unique. Because you're reading the Parsha of the week. I already read Parshas Shekalim. So how do you make it unique? How can you make it that Parshas Shekalim is... How can you make Parshas Shekalim unique if you're reading on the week of Kisisa? And with that, we had two opinions in the Gemara. Just say them outside, and then we'll read them inside. This is we did this very quickly over the last part. One says you make a major chiddush, major novelty. What's highlighted over here on this screen is just what Parshas Shekalim is, the beginning of Rishon of Kisisa, which is the first 6 psukim of Parshas Kisisa. That's Parshas Shekalim. So the two opinions, one says that you read the entire Parsha from beginning to end, and then the last aliyah is going to be reading Parshas Shekalim, repeating what you said. That's the opinion of Abaye. Visak Nafcha says, you do something very unique, is you skip. You don't read the beginning of the Parsha. Since the beginning of the Parsha is needed to be read for Parshas Shekalim, so you don't read the beginning, the first 6 psukim. Rather, you start from the 7th pasuk, Vasisa Kiyar, you should make a Kiyar, and you skip the beginning, and everyone's going to say, hey, why is he skipping? And then at the end, you go back and you read the beginning. You read the 6 psukim. So since you made such a novelty, we don't ever do this before. You read the earlier aliyah after the later aliyah. That's going to be enough to get everybody's attention. Yeah, so you're just reading the Gemara inside. If the Parshas Shekalim came out to be on the week of Kisisa, when you read Kisisa, and with our fixed calendar that we have, doesn't happen. It was arranged that it should never happen like that, but it could have happened in the times of the second Beis HaMikdash when the calendar was not fixed and Rosh Chodesh could fluctuate by a few days. Amar Rabbi Tzvi says, our good friend Rabbi Tzvi, then you have 6 people get an aliyah, but the first aliyah starts from Vasisa Kiyar, make a Kiyar, the 8th verse in Parshas Kisisa, and the last aliyah goes backwards and reads the first few psukim. And the words make it sound more complicated over here in the Gemara than it actually is, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Just Kisisa ad v'asisa, it just makes it sound a little rhyming and a little confusing. So one gets from, you could say, the beginning, middle of Rishon, meaning the second aliyah and onwards, and the last aliyah goes back and does the part that you skipped. Says the Gemara, Abaye asks a very strong question, objecting to Rabbi Tzvi. People are going to say, hey, you're reading the Torah backwards. Is that a problem? Well, you could be Yotze reading the Torah backwards, right? Because if I come to shul early minyan, and the early minyan, I came in the middle of Kriyas Torah and heard from Shlishi and onwards, so then I could make up the next 2 aliyahs in the next minyan of Rishon and Sheni. And if you're in 770, you'll see people, how do you say, pecking, getting a little here and a little there. We'll get a kedusha here and a chakris kedusha and a keser over here and a moedim here, Chris they're here, and they walk out of shul after an hour and they did the whole davening. Correct? Sometimes you'll see that. However, the problem in this case will be that people will think to themselves that it's not the reason why he's reading Parshas Shekalim at the end is not because it's the week of Parshas Shekalim, but rather because it's the person who's reading the Torah just forgot to do that. So we're making it up at the end. Now, it's important to read every part of the Torah. We can't skip. And the people there were people watching just might not assume right away that it's Parshas Shekalim. And Ritva has on another vart, and he says, since it's all connected to Purim, and we know by Purim, by Megillah, you can't read it out of order. So he says these parshas can't read out of order either. That's his personal opinion. So what does Abaya give a advice? Abaya says, rather, you start from the beginning of the parsha, and the first 6 aliyahs read the entire parsha from Parshas of Kisisa through the whole parsha till starting and the beginning of Vayakil. And then the last person, either the maftir or the shvi, according to the minhag, the last person will repeat what the rishon got. So the last one is repeating rishon. Who is halacha like? It's not halacha applicable nowadays while we have a fixed calendar, but one day will be applicable again, because when we have Beis Hamikdash again, Lavas and Hedron, we're going to start making Rosh Chodesh based on testimony, witnesses. Sure, now will be a lot different. If you have astronauts on the moon saying we're holding here, we're holding there, but we'll see how that works then. What's the halacha? Halacha is Tanya Kabasit Abaya. We learned a brisa according to Abaya, and that's halacha. If Parshas Shekalim comes out to be in the week of Kisisa, so then you read the Parsha Kisisa, and then you repeat Maftir. The last aliyah is repeating the beginning of Rishon of Kisisa itself, Parsha Shekalim. That way, less confusion and much simpler. Now we're already at a new topic. If we lost focus, we'll go to the next one. Chaliyas b'teich Shabbos, makdimin l'Shabbos she'avra. If Rosh Chodesh Adar occurs on Shabbos, and then you read Parshas Shekalim beforehand. Now, Rosh Chodesh is usually what day of the month?
Oh, the
first day of the month.
And also the last day.
Correct. If it's a 30-day month, correct.
Exactly.
But let's say in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, if you have a 30-day month, Rosh Chodesh, if you knew it will be a 30-day month, Rosh Chodesh was only the second day. The only in the cities outside of the Beis Hamikdash, they kept Rosh Chodesh 2 days because they didn't know which day was Rosh Chodesh. But inside the Beis Hamikdash, they only kept Rosh Chodesh on that day. Okay? Now, as we said, the money changers sit down from the 15th day of Adar. They need at least 14 days notice. So Parshas Shekalim has to be 14 days before the money changers sit down. So if Rosh Chodesh Adar is on Shabbos, then you read Parshas Shekalim on that Shabbos because they have 14 days notice. Aleph Adar, you read about Parshas Shekalim. Money changers, that Sunday, get everything ready. And they sit down on the 15th of Adar, which is a Sunday. And I guess Purim would have been on Shabbos. Or Purim would have been on Friday. So right afterwards, they'll be ready to sit down by the money changing tables. However, if Rosh Chodesh Adar is middle of the week, a Monday, a Tuesday, and if you read Parshas Shekalim on the Shabbos afterwards, let's say Rosh Chodesh Adar is Monday, it's Aleph. So Shabbos is now on Hey. So 2 weeks, 14 days later, Hey plus Yudalit is Yotes. That's not enough time. Money changers won't have enough time to get ready. So you need at least 2 weeks in advance. If Rosh Chodesh Adar was in the middle of the week, so then you read Parshas Shekalim the month before, either under Aleph or in Shvat. Itmar, we learned in a brisa, Rosh Chodesh Adar Shechalias b'Shabbos, be'er Shabbos. If Rosh Chodesh Adar came to be on Friday, so now we have a very unique situation because Rosh Chodesh Adar is on Friday. Monday is Shabbos is Beis, and 14 days later is Tezvav. Comes out to be on Shabbos. Now, do we have enough time? 2 weeks. Is it considered to be enough time or not? That's going to be the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel. Rav Amar, Rav says, Makdimin, you still read the week before. Meaning you read during Shvat or other Aleph. Shmuel Amar, Shmuel says, Ma'acharin, you're allowed to read Parshas Shekalim in middle of the month on Beis, because it says the 14th day is Shabbos. You can't do it on Shabbos, so you already have your enough time to prepare. Let's read it inside. Rav Amar, Rav says, Magdimin. If you have the art scroll, we're middle of 38.2, middle of the first column. Magdimin, you advance the reading of Parshas Shekalim to the preceding week. The imkain batru liyom mishalchanas. The money changers won't have enough time to prepare. You're giving them 13 days instead of 14 days. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, Ma'achrin, you're allowed, you read the Parshas Shekalim the day after. You read Parshas Shekalim on Beis. Why? Sof, Chameisar b'male Shabbata mikla. Ultimately, when Rosh Chodesh Adar falls on Friday, so the 15th of Adar, when the money changers have to set up shop, is also going to be on a Friday. And the money changers are not going to set up shop until Sunday. Because Friday, everybody knows, everybody experiences themselves, is Baruch Hashem, a very busy day.
Yeah.
And there's many halachas about Friday. Right? Friday, if somebody is running on Erev Shabbos and they break something while they're getting ready for Shabbos, they're patur because they're getting ready for Shabbos. Mm-hmm. We don't start a journey in Erev Shabbos. We don't go into business for the first time in Erev Shabbos. So Erev Shabbos is a day when people are not able to concentrate and focus. And since in honor of Shabbos, they're not going to set up their tables. Once they set it up already, they're going to be open on Friday. But they wouldn't start off to begin with on Erev Shabbos. And also, let me ask you a question. What day of the week do we have to give a lot of tzedakah? Yossi, manishma. How are you? Welcome.
Shalom, Rabbi. Baruch Hashem. How are you?
Hashem, yeah. Happy to see you. Happy you could join us. Sorry.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
On Erev Shabbos is when you have to give money to the poor. Now, if the money changers are setting up an Erev Shabbos, and many people who are like getting everything ready on time, and now they're going to want to give the money, come right in the beginning. They have their half shekel coin in their pocket, and they're lining up. They want to beat the rush, or they want to be the rush, and they go to the money changer the first day in order to give their half shekel coin for machzas shekel. It's going to be the first day is Erev Shabbos. If on the way to the money changer, a poor person says, please, I need some money to buy some food for Shabbos, the person's going to say, you know how much effort I went through just to get this half shekel coin in order to give it to the money changer? He's not going to give money to the poor person. So they didn't want to make the first day of machzas shekel to be on Erev Shabbos. So the poor people who need money for Shabbos should be able to receive. No one should sort of brush them off. Or other way around, the poor person will give money to machzas shekel and not have any money for himself left over for Shabbos and no time to go out to work and earn more money. So the first day, they don't want it to be on Erev Shabbos. Therefore, the tables only be setting up on Sunday, which would be 17th of Adar. And Shmuel says, therefore, you are allowed, if Rosh Chodesh Adar, the first of Adar, is on a Friday, you read Parshas Shekalim on the 2nd of Adar, because although you don't have 2 weeks advance notice for the 15th of Adar, but you do have 2 weeks advance notice for Sunday after that. And then the money changers will only open up shop on Sunday to begin with. They're not going to open up shop on a Friday. Tanan, the Gemara is now going to ask on the opinion of Shmuel, which says, Chaliyas b'toicha Shabbos. Our Mishnah that we have learned in the previous Amud says if Rosh Chodesh Adar came out to be on Shabbos itself, Makdimin l'sha'avar. You read Parshas Shekalim the week before Rosh Chodesh, Mafsikin l'Shabbos acheres. And the Shabbos afterwards, you take a break. meaning 1 week you don't read any parsha. You interrupt the reading the 4 parshas on the following Shabbos. With our current calendar, we never have 4 consecutive Shabbosim that you're reading these 4 parshas. You'll have a break usually of 1. Occasionally, but not so common, you'll have 2 breaks. But we don't usually, nowadays, you don't read it in 4 consecutive weeks in a row. If Rosh Chodesh Adar wasn't during the week, you read, Rosh Chodesh Adar came out to be during the week. If it came out to be in Shabbos, you read it the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Adar, and then you make an interruption. You take a break from the 4 parshas another week. The Gemara is assuming what it means. Mafsikin, my love, afilu be'erev Shabbos. Let's say Rosh Chodesh Adar came out to be on Friday. That means you don't read the week of, you read the week before. Seemingly, this is a clear contradiction to Shmuel. Gemara says, "Lo, betoich haShabbos dafka." The Mishnah means when you say during the week, it means during the weekday days of the week, meaning not including Friday. It's a Talmudic knowledge, Talmudic logic. But when we say during the week, it means not including Friday. Friday is more connected to Shabbos than it is connected to during the week. So if Rosh Chodesh Adar came out to be on Shabbos, definitely you read on that day. If it came out to be on Monday to Thursday, you read the week before. If it came out to be on Friday, although our Mishnah says you read the week before, Shmuel interprets that to mean specifically the weekdays, Sunday through Thursday, the 5 work days of the week. But Friday is not a full work day of the week. It's more dedicated to Shabbos than to anything else.
I actually like to see if someone says, we put a tefillin every day. We don't mean literally every day. We have a Shabbos off. You have to have, but we mean it's like, it's the majority.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, it means a majority of the week. Or we have a shiur every single day. It means not Shabbos and not Sunday. Just the work day of the week. So when he says, the Mishnah says that you came during the week, it means during the working week. I mean, you're able to interpret like that in order to still keep his understanding as a practicality, perhaps not to distance too far apart the 4 parshas. I mean, there's different reasons, advantages that could come out from each method and each understanding. The Gemara will now ask another question on the opinion of Shmuel from a Brisa. Tashma, come in here. Another question on Shmuel, who says that if Rosh Chodesh Adar is on a Friday, you read Parshas Shekalim on Beis Adar. Ezu Shabbos Rishona. This Brisa will give you the order when every single one of the 4 parshas is read. Ezu Shabbos Rishona. You have 4 portions to read. What are the 4 portions? Put up on the screen. Shekalim, Zachor, Para, HaChodesh. Now, a Jewish calendar month, is 29 days or 30 days. If they were always in middle of the month, so then you would always be able to read all 4 of them within the month of Adar. Now, Parshas Shekalim has to be read before Rosh Chodesh Adar or on Rosh Chodesh. So Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out to be any date but Shabbos, you read it not during Adar. So you're going to have empty weeks during the month of Adar, because by default you have at least 4 weeks, maybe 5 if the first day of the month or second day of the month is Shabbos. But you're by default going to have at least 1 empty week, and perhaps more. It's possible to have more. So what are so you have an order. So once you have all this sort of leeway and wiggle room, which parsha of the 4 parshas go first? And that was, I mean, we know from ourselves what we do is Parshas Shekalim is first, because we want to remind everyone, give your Shekalim to the Beis HaMikdash. Parshas Zachor will soon have in the Gemara discussion where it should go. Should always be the Shabbos before Purim, like we do nowadays, because you have to destroy Amalek and Haman Usar Amalek, and you fulfill the mitzvah of destroying Amalek from the Torah with Parshas Zachor, or should it be connected to Shekalim? Be the week after, even if it's an extra break. And Para HaChodesh. So Ezu Shabbos Rishona. So the first, what's the first of the four? Kol Shechodesh Chodesh Other Liyas B'Toicha. Afilu B'Erev Shabbos. Whichever week Rosh Chodesh Other comes out to be. So you read Parshas Shekalim the Shabbos before, even if it's on a Friday. My love, Afilu B'Erev Shabbos Dumya T'Toicha. Now back to the Gemara on the screen. Ma Toicha Magdimin Af Erev Shabbos Magdimin. Are these two cases not similar? And maybe perhaps we'll be able to resolve the dispute between Rav and Shmuel if what happens if Rosh Chodesh Adar is on a Friday, do you read Parshas Shekalim the day after it on Beis Adar or the week before? When Rosh Chodesh Adar falls in the middle of the week, let's say on a Sunday through a Thursday, we advance Parshas Shekalim to the previous Shabbos. So when Rosh Chodesh Adar should fall to be on Friday, we should advance it also to the previous Shabbos, like Rav, based on what this Parshas says. Whatever day Rosh Chodesh, whichever week Rosh Chodesh Adar falls to be inside of it, we bring Shabbos, we bring Parshas Shekalim the week before to announce, even if it's on a Friday. So the question, seemingly we could pass him like Rav. The Gemara answers, Amar Shmuel ba. V'chein tani devei Shmuel ba. Shmuel, to defend his position, he says you have to, there was a president of the US who said, depends what the word is.
Oh,
what do you say? What do you say? And the meaning.
Actually, what is the word is? Yeah, because he had been a lawyer.
Well, the meaning of the word is. So he was a lawyer.
He's a lawyer, yeah.
Right. So these lawyers have nothing on Rav and Shmuel, obviously.
First kill all
He
the
says,
lawyers.
look at the words of these actual brisa that we just read. Kol shechol Rosh Chodesh Adar liyas b'toicha, inside of it. Says you have to look at the word inside of it. Just he said the word is, if you would have the word b'toicha inside of it, yes, you would have a problem. However, I change the text of the word and just take out 3 letters in the middle. Taf, vav, chaf, and you read the word as ba, inside of it. What's the difference of ba and b'toicha? Ba, b'toicha means throughout the entire week, including Friday. And so if Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out from Sunday through Friday, you read the week before. Ba means inside of it, but not including Friday, not including the last day of the week, because ba means it, Shabbos itself. This is how you explain the brisa. Which is the week that you read Parshas Shekalim, and is the first of the 4 Parshas. Whichever week Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out to be on it, meaning Kol Shabbos. What's the words? Kol Shechol Rosh Chodesh Adar ba. What is the first Shabbos that you read? Whichever Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out to be on it. So not when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out to be during the week, but rather when Rosh Chodesh Adar comes to be, and instead of Shabbos meaning the week, Shabbos means the day of Shabbos. And now it makes sense. When do you read Rosh Chodesh Adar? When do you read Parshas Shekalim? The week before Rosh Chodesh Adar? Only if Rosh Chodesh Adar is during the week, even if it's on Friday. On the contrary, from here is a proof to Shmuel that if Rosh Chodesh Adar is on Friday, you read it the next day. Once he amends, takes the word out from b'toicha to ba. V'chein tanan devei Shmuel ba. We have a brisa which actually came from the Academy of Shmuel, which actually learned this brisa to say the words ba in it itself, and therefore on it itself, on the day of if Rosh Chodesh Adar came out to be on Erev Shabbos, then you would read the Parshas Shekalim on the next day, the day after. The Gemara tries to bring a machlokes Tanoim, and once it's machlokes Tanoim, it's a dispute going back before the times of Rav and Shmuel, back to the times of the Mishnah. So then we no longer have to bring proofs from one or the other. Rather, we follow the rules of however you rule from a Mishnah. You go according to the majority opinion, unless if a majority opinion is unnamed, then it's Rameir, then you go according to that opinion. Rameir is never halacha like him. So the Gemara says, Kitanoi, let us say, this dispute of Rav and Shmuel is if Rosh Chodesh Adar came out to be on Friday, you read Parshas Shekalim the day after, on Beis Adar, or the week before, is dependent on a dispute between Tanoim, which states, Misargin l'Shabbos divrei Rabbi Yehuda. You have 4 special Torah readings. Now, being that you're reading Rosh Chodesh, reading the Parshas Shekalim before the month of Adar, you're going to have to skip at least one place. Where do you skip? Divrei Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says you skip between number 1 and 2. Just a little bit of context over here. Right, so between Parshas Shekalim and Parshas Zachor, between week number 1 and week number 2, you're going to skip, and you're going to have Parshas Zachor closer to Purim. And you don't read Parshas Zachor until the third week after you started to read the 4 Parshas. And that's what happens very, very often. And the reason you do that is because you want to have a Parshas Zachor as close as possible to Purim, to make the 2 mitzvahs of destroying Amalek and destroying Haman, who comes from Amalek, as close as possible together. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Shimon, the son of Elazar, says, Ein misargin, that you don't skip around. Meaning you have to make a gap somewhere. However, he says, these first 2 Parshas, Parshas Shekalim and Parshas Zachor, come one after the next. And then you take a break the next week, Shabbos before Purim, and you don't read Parshas Zachor on the Shabbos before Purim. And what's the reason he says this? Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, a masani Amar misargin izman shechaliyas be'er Shabbos. When do I say that you don't skip around, that you don't take a break, only if it's not an Erev Shabbos? Because which Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out to be on Friday, and they read Parshas Shekalim after Rosh Chodesh, like Shmuel, right? In order, they shouldn't have to make a interruption between Parshas Shekalim and Parshas Zachor. So you read it the Shabbos after. You read it on Beis. So if Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out to be on Friday, right, you read it on Beis, you shouldn't have to make a interruption. And then it comes out that you're anyways going to be reading Parshas Zachor on the Shabbos before Purim. Because if you read Parshas Shekalim on Beis, right, 7 days later, what's Beis plus Zayin? 2 plus 7 is Tes. 9. So then you're going to read the next part. Parshas Shabbos is going to be on Tes on number 9, Tes Adar, and then Purim will be 5 days later on Thursday. And you are reading the 2 Parshas one after the next, and there's no break in between Parshas Shekalim and Parshas Zachor, and you're reading Parshas Zachor the Shabbos before Purim. So then I'll agree with you. He'll agree with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi if he goes according to Shmuel, which says that if Rosh Chodesh Adar is on a Friday, you read Parshas Shekalim on Beis the day after. But if Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out to be in the middle of the week, Makdim v'Korim Shabbos Sha'avra, then you read Parshas Shekalim, definitely the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh Adar. So let's say you read it on, let's say Chav Vav or Chav Hey, let's say Chav Vav Shvat, and now you're going to be reading Parshas Zachor according to Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. You're going to be reading Parshas Zachor always the Shabbos right after Parshas Shekalim, and then will come out to be you're reading on Beis or Gimel or Daled, and then you have an empty week where you don't read any Parsha, an empty Shabbos before Purim. So Zachor is not always connected to Purim. Even though it's in the month of Shvat, where you're reading Parshas Shekalim, and consequently, Shabbos Parshas Zachor. You have to have at least 2 weeks. So you're reading Parshas Shekalim during the during the month of Shvat, unless Purim, unless Rosh Chodesh Shvat is Rosh Chodesh Adar is on a Friday, and then you could still have your 2 weeks because they set up only on Sunday. And therefore, Al Bishu will Shvat, and then the next Shabbos afterwards, it could be either you'll take a break or you could continue, right? But the Gemara understands over here, he'll agree you will take a break. However, we do see that Rav holds like a Yehuda Hanasi, that you should always read it the Shabbos before, and therefore you'll have a break between Shabbos number 1 and 2. And Shmuel holds like Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, and therefore he holds that if Purim comes out to be on Rosh Chodesh Adar comes out to be on a Friday, so then you read the Shabbos after, and then you don't have a break between the two parshas. But he will agree, he says in other cases, you will have a break between the two parshas. And so we do say it goes back to the Machlekes of Tanoim. But halach is a Parshas Zachor is always a Shabbos before. And the entire next Gemara is going to be discussing the Parshas Zachor, and if Parshas Zachor is the Iraisa, is it come from the Torah or not? And we're going to go through all of the halachas of this. Just a way to remember the order of the 4 parshas. We'll get to it tomorrow, but the 3 different mnemonics to remember when you're going to read each parsha. Right. We have about 10 minutes left. We'll do a few minutes of V'yadayta Moskva. Let's see where that Moskva is. Might have mistake. No. Okay. Send these out. Box. Page 185. Right. So there'll be a trivia question. Do you remember this? What is the most repeated command in the Torah?
Most repeated command in the Torah.
Correct.
Ooh. What?
To do what?
It says next, it says, the command itself is Saturday stuff.
It says Al Tira, do not fear. Right? It says over 180 times, 110 times in the Torah, Al Tira, don't be scared, don't be afraid. And we say that in Motzei Shabbos, we're leaving Shabbos, the safety of Shabbos and going out to the week. Open the news, who knows what the news is going to say now. Right? Imagine on Simchas Torah, everybody dreading to make Havdalah and opening the news, right? And Hashem says, nothing to fear. Why is there nothing to fear? And how could Hashem tell us, don't fear? It's an emotion, right? Can you command an emotion? So he says, if you exercise and focus on the pnimis, on the inside, you see the Shem Havaya. You see that everything and nothing is really concealment from Hashem. And really, it's the name of Havaya, and there's merely, when you have a challenge or a test, it's merely a tool to reveal and connect yourself to inner, higher dimension. Let's find where it is on English, but over here and over here. When we have a challenge, we're able to reveal our inner essential infinite dimension of our neshama connected to the name of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Just like Avram was given a challenge, should he bow down to Nimrod or not? He passed that challenge, and he went through challenge after challenge. He passed many tests, and eventually he was able to become connected to Hashem's infinite light. A similar process in a smaller scale is by every single person's own challenges and tests. When a person stands against any concealments, which hold back and hinder a person from advancing in the study of Torah and in the fulfillment of mitzvahs, when one stands strong in the face of every obstacle, God forbid to become separated from God, and using out all of his abilities that he has in order to learn Torah and in order to serve Hashem, he reaches a higher plane, reaches a higher light. Not a physical light, a light of the neshama, which is greater, transcends the natural order. The alzeh hoisa ridas haneshama lamata. And not every challenge has to be, a crusader holding a sword to someone's neck and either convert to Christianity or die. But every single person on a day-to-day level also has their own challenges, their own tests that Hashem throws at all of us. And by purpose of descent and being involved, and we're living in a physical world, so we have physical limitations. And sometimes it makes sense. We got to act in such a manner, Like when it comes to business, and got to work a whole day and a whole night. And if you're going to daven and take time off for yourself, you're going to surely bring a loss. Similarly, a person might appear to them you have to make all types of crafts and techniques in your business. And it can't follow the way of truth. And someone said a joke recently, says that there was somebody, a woman had a baby. She goes to the rabbi, the Rav, and she says, "Rabbi, I had a baby, Mazel Tov." She says, "What should I write? What year was he born on the birth certificate? If I write that he was born a few years earlier than he was, so then there'll be a problem with going to the army. If I write he's born a few years later than he was, it's going to be a problem later on when he wants to collect benefits. What should I do?" Rabbi says, maybe just write the real date. He says, "You know what, Rabbi, thank you so much. It didn't even occur to me." This is the way it used to be. I'm saying everyone's birth. I'm saying everyone had to have false papers.
Exactly.
If you see the Rebbe's Russian passport, it says he's born in the year 1895. Why? I don't know. Maybe before the army? I'm not sure.
Oh, and he was actually born earlier?
1902 he was born.
I see.
You would have the same passport.
1895.
My father was 12 years old when he came to America, but he was really 14, but he couldn't get a visa. He had a brother here. If you're 12 years old, you
come in.
If you're 14, you can't. But when it came to, anyway, he came in. When it came time for Social Security, he did tshuva. Yeah, you could go and get a landsman and to say he knows the real year. He became, he was, I guess, actually 67 then, but he became 65. Exactly like this.
Like, wow.
My father's uncle,
People do all kinds of things to avoid the army.
Mhm.
Research that the part of the extended family.
Yeah.
So there were two young men, actually both of them were yeshiva bocher, they were only the Chaim. But when they came here, they were listed with girls' names.
Mm-hmm.
So we looked into it, we spoke to one of the relatives, said, yeah, they were given girls' names and they dressed like girls in order to not have to go to the army.
Wow. They had girls' names and dressed like girls to avoid the
And
army.
he needs to sit and learn Gemara. I mean, they go,
and my father's uncle.
Yeah.
Was brought before, the draft board,
Yeah.
and Baruch Hashem, he managed to take out of his pocket, the birth certificate, giving a date actually that would work. He had more than one birth certificate.
He had a few birth certificates. He had to make sure to bring the right one with him that day.
And it just came out.
Baruch Hashem.
I mean, he couldn't be like, oh, came out perfect.
Interesting. Okay, so we will take a pause. Just till tomorrow. But I want to thank everyone for coming.